You ever see a car going down the road and wonder why the rear windshield has so many bubbles? Well, make sure to watch this video until the end because I'm going to explain why window tint bubbles, why it's so expensive to fix, how you can prevent it, and whether you should try to repair it yourself. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is that those bubbles are trapped air. In almost every case, that's not what's happening. If your tint was just installed and you see a few small water pockets, that's completely normal. As the film cures, those usually will disappear within a few days or weeks depending on the weather. But if your tint is several years old and suddenly starts bubbling, you're dealing with something completely different. What's actually happening is that the adhesive on the back of the film is breaking down. Window tint is made up of several layers, and one of those layers is the adhesive that bonds the film to the glass. Over time, constant exposure to heat, UV rays, and years of expansion and contraction from changing temperatures causes the adhesive to fail. Once that bond starts breaking apart, the film begins separating from the glass. That's what creates those bubbles, cloudy spots, and the areas where the tint no longer lays flat. Why does it almost always happen on the rear windshield first? Rear windshield takes an incredible amount of heat. It's constantly exposed to direct sunlight, especially if the vehicle is parked outside. On top of that, every time you turn on your rear defrosters, those heating elements warm up the glass even more. After years of that cycle, the adhesive wears out faster on the rear window than on the side windows. Another major factor is the quality of the film itself. Not all window tint is created equal. Low quality dyed films often use cheaper adhesives and lower grade materials. They may look great when they're first installed, but after a few years in the sun, they're much more likely to fade, turn purple, crack, or bubble. Higher quality carbon and ceramic films are built to withstand much more heat and UV exposure. While no film lasts forever, premium films generally have a much longer lifespan and are less likely to fail early. Installation also plays a huge role. If the glass wasn't cleaned properly before installation, if contaminants were trapped underneath the film, or if the installer used poor techniques, the film may fail much sooner than expected. That's why choosing an experienced installer is just as important as choosing quality film. Now let's answer one of the most common questions. Can bubbling tint be repaired? Unfortunately, no. Once the adhesive has failed, there's no spray, tool, or trick that's going to make the tint stick back down. You might see videos online where people poke holes in the bubbles or heat the film with a heat gun, but those are temporary fixes at best. They don't repair the damaged adhesive. The only permanent solution is to completely remove the old film and install a brand new piece. And that's where things get expensive. Removing window tint isn't as simple as peeling off a sticker. If the tint has been on the car for many years, it usually comes off in tiny pieces, leaving behind a thick layer of adhesive that's extremely difficult to remove. Rear windshield is especially challenging because of the defroster lines. Those thin horizontal lines are delicate. If someone scrapes too aggressively or uses the wrong tools, those defroster lines can be permanently damaged. Once they're damaged, they usually can't be repaired. That's why professional tint shops spend so much time removing old rear window tint carefully. Sometimes the removal process can take longer than installing new tint. After the old film is removed, every bit of adhesive has to be cleaned off the glass before the new film can be installed. If even a small amount of glue is left behind, it can affect how the new tint looks and performs. So how long should window tint actually last? That depends on several factors, including the climate, how often the vehicle sits in the sun, and the quality of the film. Premium window films can often last well over 10 years when properly installed and cared for. Lower quality films may only last a few years before showing signs of fading or bubbling. If you're shopping for window tint, don't just compare prices. Ask what type of film is being installed, whether it's dyed, carbon, or ceramic, and ask about the warranty. A lifetime warranty from a reputable manufacturer can save you a lot of money if something ever goes wrong. Finally, let's talk about prevention. The best way to prevent bubbling is to invest in quality film from the start. Parking in the shade or using a windshield sunshade can also reduce long-term heat exposure. And if your vehicle is starting to show small signs of adhesive failure, don't wait years to replace it. Older film becomes much harder to remove as it continues to deteriorate. At the end of the day, bubbling window tint isn't caused by bad luck. It's usually the result of time, heat, UV exposure, and sometimes lower quality materials. Once the adhesive fails, replacement is the only real solution. If you've got bubbling tint on your car, let me know in the comments how old it is and what type of film you think was installed. And if you're thinking about getting your windows tinted, check out my other videos where I compare ceramic, carbon, and dyed window tint, so you can choose the right film before spending your money. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to like this video if you found any of this information useful.